After I left office, what I realized is that the Obama Foundation could potentially create a platform for young up-and-coming leaders, both in the United States but all around the world, to come together, meet together, create a digital platform where they could exchange information on an ongoing basis about projects that they were working on. And that if I could do that effectively, then I would create 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000 young Barack Obamas or Michelle Obamas, or the next group of people who could take that baton in that relay race that is human progress, and continue to build on the work that we had done. So that's really going to be my focus.
Very good explanation.
After I left office, what I realized is that the Obama Foundation could potentially create a platform for young up-and-coming leaders, both in the United States but all around the world, to come together, meet together, create a digital platform where they could exchange information on an ongoing basis about projects that they were working on. And that if I could do that effectively, then I would create 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000 young Barack Obamas or Michelle Obamas, or the next group of people who could take that baton in that relay race that is human progress, and continue to build on the work that we had done. So that's really going to be my focus.
Very good experience.
When I left office in January, I asked of you the same thing I asked of you way back in 2008. I asked you to believe not in my ability to bring about change, but in yours. When Michelle and I launched the Obama Foundation, we turned to you first. We wanted to hear your ideas and help you lift up good work that's already going on in your communities. We read your letters, your emails, and your submissions to Obama.org. I sat down with young people from Chicago to Berlin to Jakarta to hear directly from the future leaders we want to cultivate. And what makes me so hopeful, so optimistic, is that so many of you have shown up, dived in, and embraced the kind of active citizenship that makes our democracy work. Civic leaders like Sheldon Smith, a Chicagoan who works to instill young African-American dads like himself with the skills to be positive role models and responsible parents. Like Tricia Shetty, who started an organization in India aimed at helping victims of sexual abuse find resources and support online. And like Emily May, a New Yorker who's working to bridge divides by bringing people with diverse views together over the simple joys of a shared meal and honest conversation. One of the things you told us is how much you want to hear from one another, from folks who aren't like you, who live in different places and are tackling unique challenges of their own. And that's why this October, we're bringing together hundreds of leaders from all around the world for a hands-on exchange of ideas in my hometown and the future site of the Obama Presidential Center, the city of Chicago. This Leadership Summit will be a place to gather and learn from one another, and then go back to your communities to lead others in the hard work of change. In the weeks and months ahead, we'll be kicking off more initiatives and opportunities for people like you to get involved with the Obama Foundation's mission. That mission is simple. We want to inspire and empower people to change the world, and we hope you'll be a part of it. Head over to Obama.org and join us in shaping our next chapter. Thanks a lot.
This was in America, and there was chaos and panic, and people were really in terror. And I had a lot of fear just as an observer. And what I saw was that there was a large, I'd call it civilian police force that had raised up. This was not the normal police force that we have on the streets today. This was a different group of soldiers or police force. And it's seen that some of these were Americans, but not all of them. And what I could tell very clearly is they'd had an order given to them to round up all the Christians and all the people that believed in the Bible. And the order was get go ahead and just share what the dream was. So this was in America, and there was chaos and panic, and people were really in terror. And I had a lot of fear just as an observer. And what I saw was that there was a large, I'd call it civilian police force that had raised up. This was not the normal police force that we have on the streets today. This was a different group of soldiers or police force, and it's seen that some of these were Americans, but not all of them. And what I could tell very clearly is they'd had an order given to them to round up all the Christians and all the people that believed in the Bible. The order was get every single one of them. Don't let a single one of them, run away or go astray. And so what I saw was where I was taken. What I saw was there was a leader that was over a group of these soldiers. And I didn't hear anything. I heard no words spoken, but I saw a leader that was giving orders to a large group of these soldiers. And this was a black man, and his face, he looked just like Barack Obama, and the same body type and everything. And he was like pointing with a finger and giving them stern orders. And I had heard something before, and I just knew it, that the order he was giving them is they need to round up all the Christians and all the people that believe in the Bible. Was where I was taken. What I saw was there was a leader that was over a group of these soldiers. And I didn't hear anything. I heard no words spoken, but I saw a leader that was giving orders to a large group of these soldiers. And this was a black man, and his face, he looked just like Barack Obama, and the same body type and everything. And he was like pointing with a finger and giving them stern orders. And I had heard something before, and I just knew it, that the order he was giving them is they need to round up all the Christians and all the people that believe in the Bible. So the next thing I saw was there were these groups of Christians being put on large trucks, or they weren't trains. I describe it as it was like trucks from what I remember. And they were taken to these large warehouses, is what I would describe it as. It's like these large cement warehouses. And the next thing I saw, and this is the one time where I really heard a strong dialogue between people, is there was a group of Christians getting off this truck and a group of soldiers. And this Christian man was looking at the soldier and he was yelling at him and he was saying, "You don't even believe in what you're doing." And he said, "I have complete faith in what I'm doing and I'm ready right now to die for what I believe in."
Hi, everybody. Anaya, thank you for that beautiful introduction. I could not be prouder of everything you've done in your time with the Obama Foundation. And, of course, I couldn't be prouder of all of you in the graduating class of 2020, as well as the teachers and the coaches, and most of all, parents and family who guided you along the way. Now, graduating is a big achievement under any circumstances. Some of you have had to overcome serious obstacles along the way, whether it was an illness or a parent losing a job or living in a neighborhood where people too often count you out. Along with the usual challenges of growing up, all of you have had to deal with the added pressures of social media, reports of school shootings, and the specter of climate change. And then, just as you're about to celebrate having made it through, just as you've been looking forward to proms and senior nights, graduation ceremonies, and, let's face it, a whole bunch of parties, the world is turned upside down by a global pandemic. And as much as I'm sure you love your parents, I'll bet that being stuck at home with them and playing board games or watching Tiger King on TV is not exactly how you envisioned the last few months of your senior year. Now, I'll be honest with you. The disappointments of missing a live graduation, those will pass pretty quick. I don't remember much of my own high school graduation. I know that not having to sit there and listen to a commencement speaker isn't all that bad. Mine usually go on way too long. Also, not that many people look great in those caps, especially if you have big ears like me. And you'll have plenty of time to catch up with your friends once the immediate public health crisis is over. But what remains true is that your graduation marks your passage into adulthood, the time when you begin to take charge of your own life. It's when you get to decide what's important to you. career you want to pursue, who you want to build a family with, the values you want to live by. And given the current state of the world, that may be kind of scary. If you planned on going away for college, getting dropped off at campus in the fall, that's no longer a given. If you are planning to work while going to school, finding that first job is going to be tougher. Even families that are relatively well off are dealing with massive uncertainty. Those who were struggling before, they're hanging on by a thread. All of which means that you're going to have to grow up faster than some generations. This pandemic has shaken up the status quo and laid bare a lot of our country's deep-seated problems, from massive economic inequality to ongoing racial disparities to a lack of basic health care for people who need it. It's woken a lot of young people up to the fact that the old ways of doing things just don't work. That it doesn't matter how much money you make if everyone around you is hungry and sick, and that our society and our democracy only work when we think not just about ourselves, but about each other. It's also
stories that brought us here to Chicago today. All of us share one common hope. We all want to build a better future for our communities.
We are at the beginning. And in one short year, all of these uncommon stories come together in a way that I just could not be more proud of.
Whenever I take on a project in music or in film, I'm thinking about my community. How can I make them proud? How can I uplift them? How can I represent?
As young people and as young adults, we have the opportunity to make a change.
All the wisdom, all the knowledge that we need to figure this out is sitting right here inside of our young people.
I've always had that feeling inside that I was fighting for anyone who's ever been told no, anyone who's ever been made to feel as if, a space wasn't made for them.
The minute that I realized that I could be an agent of change, that I could do everything in my power to change the world, and again, it's everything in your power, so whatever you can do that day, that is enough.
Understanding that connecting with other people, taking a moment to empathetically listen to them, to challenge them to grow, is what we can do to share our stories and to make sure that we find common ground.
Of course yourself is important and your identity, but what you're there for are these others. Trying to understand, ask questions, what's your life like, how does it feel, what are you doing? Yourself is great, but it's just the start of a much broader story.
Of each of us having very unique, specific stories, but that if we bother listening to each other, that those stories merge, that there's a community to be unearthed. It's already there. I learned very early on, and it served me all the way through the presidency.
Our stories matter. So keep sharing, keep writing, keep going.
A lack of basic health care for people who need it. It's woken a lot of young people up to the fact that the old ways of doing things just don't work. That it doesn't matter how much money you make if everyone around you is hungry and sick. And that our society and our democracy only work when we think not just about ourselves, but about each other. It's also pulled the curtain back on another hard truth, something that we all have to eventually accept once our childhood comes to an end. You know, all those adults that you used to think were in charge and knew what they were doing, turns out they don't have all the answers. A lot of them aren't even asking the right questions. So if the world's going to get better, it's going to be up to you. That realization may be kind of intimidating, but I hope it's also inspiring. With all the challenges this country faces right now, nobody can tell you, no, you're too young to understand, or this is how it's always been done. Because with so much uncertainty, with everything suddenly up for grabs, this is your generation's world to shape. Since I'm one of the old guys, I won't tell you what to do with this power that rests in your hands, but I'll leave you with pieces of advice. First, don't be afraid. America's gone through tough times before. Slavery, civil war, famine, disease, the Great Depression, and 9/11. And each time, we came out stronger. Usually because a new generation, young people like you, learned from past mistakes and figured out how to make things better. Second, do what you think is right. Doing what feels good, what's convenient, what's easy, that's how little kids think. Unfortunately, a lot of so-called grown-ups, including some with fancy titles and important jobs, still think that way, which is why things are so screwed up. I hope that instead you decide to ground yourself in values that last, like honesty, hard work, responsibility, fairness, generosity.
Young people can actually do much more if we work together, if we're able to share, and if we're able to look beyond the borders that divide our Africa.
Whatever you want to be the best at it. Go for excellence.
Build a team. You cannot do it alone. Make sure everyone brings something to the table.
What has surprised me about my time here is the hunger to make change in Africa.
All of us are working towards one thing, even though we're doing it in so many different ways.
That's the kind of inspiration that gives me even more strength and push me. I feel more sharpened and more inspired.
When Africa meets in one place, it gives me hope for this continent. As an Obama leader, my future is bright.
Respect for others. You won't get it right every time. You'll make mistakes like we all do. But if you listen to the truth that's inside yourself, even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, people will notice. They'll gravitate towards you. And you'll be part of the solution instead of part of the problem. And finally, build a community. No one does big things by themselves. Right now, when people are scared, it's easy to be cynical and say, let me just look out for myself, or my family, or people who look or think or pray like me. But if we're going to get through these difficult times, if we're going to create a world where everybody has opportunity to find a job and afford college, if we're going to save the environment and defeat future pandemics, then we're going to have to do it together. So be alive to one another's struggles. Stand up for one another's rights. Leave behind all the old ways of thinking that divide us: sexism, racial prejudice, status, greed, and set the world on a different path. When you need help, Michelle and I have made it the mission of our foundation to give young people like you the skills and support to lead in your own communities and to connect you with other young leaders around the country and around the globe. But the truth is, you don't need us to tell you what to do, because in so many ways, you've already started to lead. Congratulations, class of 2020. Keep making us proud. Years ago, in the East Room of the White House, we launched the My Brother's Keeper initiative. It was a declaration that in a country as prosperous and dynamic as ours, we all have an obligation to lift up communities that have consistently had the odds stacked against them. It was an ambitious call to action to make sure that every boy and young man of color in this country has the opportunity to achieve their dreams. Today, this work continues as an initiative of the Obama Foundation.
This is my platform where I can make my dreams come true. It's a brotherhood, it's a support system, it's an opportunity, it's life-changing, it's everything.
Now with this program, I can talk and you can hear my voice, because before I couldn't express myself the way I wanted to.
It makes total sense that now, as part of the Obama Foundation, the work of MBK continues, and it's woven into our broader work about leadership development and civic engagement.
The Obama Foundation is all about equipping, inspiring, empowering the next generation of young leaders who can solve problems. The My Brother's Keeper Alliance is about making sure no one is left behind. So the missions marry together and merge together quite nicely. If we're going to have leaders that are going to solve problems, we need leaders of all stripes, of all colors, from all communities, and we're going to do that work together.
It's something that everyone should adopt. It's something that every city should have, because it's life-changing.
I think it's very important for our stories to be told, because that same struggle that we faced, we can now reach back and pull another young brother through.
The next chapter of the My Brother's Keeper Alliance is very exciting. We're going to go deep in communities. We're going to lock arms partners with them, and we're going to be partners in their success. And we're going to do this work slowly, methodically, while also being urgent about the issues that our communities face.
We're going to most definitely inspire a lot of people. And that's the joy of this, seeing smiles on faces that normally won't have them.
I have always believed that the single most important task we have as a nation is to make sure our young people can go as far as their dreams and hard work will take them. This is something I will be invested in for the rest of my life, and I look forward to continuing the journey with all of you.
I believe that every young person deserves an opportunity to achieve their dreams, regardless of race,
Gender.
or socioeconomic status.
I am my brother's keeper.
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 Yo soy el guardián de mi hermano.
I am my brother's keeper.
Generation has driven the planet to the brink, eating away the resources and carbon budgets of generations to come. Luckily, the next generation is already stepping up and doing its best to right our wrongs.
Make no mistake, young people will carry on the work whether they are included or not. We're already here and out in the world, dreaming, building, advocating, creating. We're not going to stand and wait for a seat at the table.
The latest UN-DESA World Youth Report is clear. Young people have the potential to save the world. All we have to do is let them do just that. And that means giving them a fair shot at quality education and decent jobs. Today, less than a quarter of high school-aged youth do not attend a secondary school. Inequalities are striking. Enrollment is lowest in the places where youth skills are needed the most. Less than half of young people today participate in the labor market. And even among those that do have work, 1 in 6 lives in extreme poverty. Child marriage is still depriving many young women of a chance to build a better life for themselves and their countries. These numbers are unacceptably high, and changing them should be our foremost priority. The World Youth Report shows what young people are capable of if only given the opportunity. Let us not squander their potential. Investing in Youth 2030 is investing in our common future.
hosts, doth take away from Jerusalem and from Judah the stay and the staff, the whole stay of bread and the whole stay of water, the mighty man and the man of war, the judge and the prophet and the prudent and the ancient, the captain of 50 and the honorable man, and the counselor and the cunning artificer and the eloquent orator. And I will give children to be their princes, and babes shall rule over them. And the people shall be oppressed, every one by another, and every one by his neighbor. The child shall behave himself proudly against the ancient, and the base against the honorable. When a man shall take hold of his brother of the house of his father, saying, Thou hast clothing, be thou our ruler, and let this ruin be under thy hand, in that day shall he swear, saying, I will not be an healer, for in my house is neither bread nor clothing. Make me not a ruler of the people. For Jerusalem is ruined, and Judah is fallen, because their tongue and their doings are against the Lord, to provoke the eyes of his glory. The show of their countenance doth witness against them, and they declare their sin, as Sodom, they hide it not. Woe unto their soul, for they have rewarded evil unto themselves. Say ye to the righteous, that it shall be well with him, for they shall eat the fruit of their doings. Woe unto the wicked, it shall be ill with him, for the reward of his hand shall be given him. As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, they which lead thee, cause thee to err, and destroy the way of thy paths. The Lord standeth up to plead, and standeth to judge the people. The Lord will enter into judgment with the ancients of his people, and the princes thereof. For ye have eaten up the vineyard. The spoil of the poor is in your houses. I'm here to begin the work of the Obama Foundation in partnering with some remarkable young leaders from all across Europe who are already making amazing change, to see if we can make even more amazing change.
So we're here in Berlin to welcome 300 young leaders from 37 different countries across Europe, working in government, civil society, private sector, across a multitude of issues. And the idea there was not only to hear from them and the diversity of issues they're working on, but to really inform future foundation programming. The president's philosophy is we can't know how to help young people until we really listen to what their needs are. So we had a conversation with them about their opportunities, their hopes, their challenges, their obstacles.
We talked about different issues, gender-based issues, the environment, and instead of always expecting someone to take the lead on things, how can we take the lead ourselves?
One thing that I'm taking with me from this experience, the importance of communications between different sectors, how much we have to gain to actually try to understand each other a little bit better.
I've met some really interesting people, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know them better and see how we can actually work together.
When we connect young people through the foundation, one of the most exciting things we can do is leave the event knowing everyone feels inspired, but then waiting to see what comes next.
equivalent in the University of Asia and the Pacific.
I'm studying Spanish and Italian.
Engineering.
Finance. Yes.
Queridos jóvenes, el Señor los necesita.
I am pleased to announce that in October 2018, a Synod of Bishops will take place to treat the topic, Young People, the Faith, and Vocational Discernment. I wanted you to be the center of attention because you are in my heart. Today, the preparatory document is being presented, a document which I am also entrusting to you as your compass on this synodal journey.
I am reminded of the words which God spoke to Abraham. Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. These words are now also addressed to you. They are the words of a father who invites you to go, to set out towards a future which is unknown, but one which will surely lead to fulfillment, a future towards which he himself accompanies you. I invite you to hear God's voice resounding in your heart through the breath of the Holy Spirit.
When God said to Abraham, "Go," what did he want to say? He certainly did not say to distance himself from his family or withdraw from the world. Abraham received a compelling invitation, a challenge to leave everything and go to a new land. What is this new land? For us today, if not a more just and friendly society, which you, young people, deeply desire and wish to build to the very ends of the earth.
But unfortunately, today, go also has a different meaning, namely that of abuse of power, injustice, and war. Many among you are subjected to the real threat of violence and forced to flee their native land. Their cry goes up to God like that of Israel when the people were enslaved and oppressed by Pharaoh.
I also remind you of the words that Jesus once said to the disciples who asked him, "Teacher, where are you staying?" He replied, "Come and see." Jesus looks at you and invites you to go with him. Dear young people, have you noticed this look towards you? Have you heard this voice? Have you felt this urge to undertake this journey?
I am sure that, despite the noise and confusion seemingly prevalent in the world, this call continues to resonate in the depths of your heart so as to open it to joy in its fullness. This will be possible to the extent that, even with professional guides, you will learn how to undertake a journey of discernment to discover God's plan in your life, even when the journey is uncertain and you fall. God, rich in mercy, will extend his hand to pick you up.
In Krakow, at the opening of the last World Youth Day, I asked you several times, can we change things? And you shouted yes.
Le cose si possono cambiare? D'accordo.
That shout came from your young and youthful hearts, which do not tolerate injustice and cannot bow to a throwaway culture, nor give in to the globalization of indifference.
Listen to the cry arising from your inner selves, even when you feel like the prophet Jeremiah, the inexperience of youth. God encourages you to go where he sends you. Do not be afraid, because I am with you to deliver you.
A better world can be built also as a result of your efforts, your desire to change and your generosity. Do not be afraid to listen to the Spirit who proposes bold choices. Do not delay when your conscience asks you to take risks in following the Master.
The Church also wishes to listen to your voice, your sensitivities, and your faith. Even your doubts and your criticism. Make your voice heard. Let it resonate in communities and let it be heard by your shepherds of souls. St. Benedict urged the abbots to consult, even the young, before any important decision, because the Lord often reveals to the younger what is best.
Such is the case, even in the journey of this synod. My brother bishops and I want even more to walk with you for your joy.
I entrust you to Mary of Nazareth, a young person like yourselves, whom God beheld lovingly, so she might take your hand and guide you to the joy of fully and generously responding to God's call with the words, "Here I am." With paternal affection, Francis.
Hi, everybody. Over the course of the past year, Michelle and I have been working with an extraordinary team to dream up a campus for active citizenship on Chicago's South Side, the Obama Presidential Center. You should know that when I was younger, I went through a phase where I wanted to be an architect. So, as you can imagine, I've been pretty hands-on in the process. As I got older, my journey brought me to Chicago, an extraordinary city where I met Michelle, started a family, and where I made a home in neighborhoods that taught me the power of ordinary people coming together to create positive change. It's no surprise then that Michelle and I decided that we had to build the Obama Presidential Center on the South Side in historic Jackson Park. The majority of the campus will be free and open to the public. It'll be a place for all seasons with winding landscapes, a sledding hill, and quiet spaces to read or reflect. The campus includes a museum, a library building, an athletic center, and a place we're calling the Forum, a public meeting space where people of all backgrounds can come together for programming, training, take in a performance in the auditorium. The museum building is a tower, a form representing ascension, hope, and what ordinary people have the power to do together. We designed it with this photo in mind. Many hands, each one different, coming together as one. So too, each facade of our four-sided tower will be a little different from the next. It's our way of showing that it takes many hands to shape a place. And while this center may have my name on it, it will be a place open to everybody, dedicated to informing and inspiring the leaders of tomorrow. Now, this is still a work in progress, and public input has been central to our process. From community meetings to online surveys, we've heard from literally thousands of people about their hopes for the center, what they'd like to see improved or changed, and how we can best serve our neighbors in Chicago. This input has shaped the design, it's challenged us, and it's made our design better. It will help us to keep refining the design details, and we'll continue to ask for help, ideas, and feedback along the way. Here's the most important thing. Michelle and I want this center to be more than just a building. We want to create an economic engine for the South Side of Chicago, a cultural attraction that showcases the South Side to the rest of the world. We want it to be a gathering place, somewhere for all kinds of people to come together and learn, not just from history or current events, but from each other. More than a museum with stories from the past, we want this to be a place that helps all of us to build our collective future. Because in the end, this center, most importantly, is for the leaders of tomorrow who are ready to step up and create the world as it should be. We want this place to inspire them, to lift them up, to give them the tools they need to succeed. And Michelle and I are absolutely grateful to all of you for being a part of this remarkable process. Thanks so much. It's the holiday season, and as we gather with our friends and loved ones to celebrate our traditions and mark the start of a new decade, it's natural to think about what the years ahead might bring. For me, well, this may not surprise you, but I'm full of hope. Still, I am as inspired as ever about the progress we're making together, especially the example of a new generation of leaders who are rising up everywhere to help lead us into the future. As I've said before, this hope isn't blind optimism. It's anchored in the stories of grace and innovation and common bonds that fill the world around us. My optimism today is born from the work of young entrepreneurs, scholars, and leaders who see the world as it is and have the courage to remake it as it should be. There are people like Nicholas Marchese, a 25-year-old from Brisbane, Australia, who pioneered the world's first free mobile laundry system for people experiencing homelessness. People like Colombia's Ana Maria Gonzalez Forero, who's using tourism to reintegrate ex-combatants into Colombia's economy, recruiting them to lead tours into areas that were once war zones. And people like Veronica Crespin-Palmer from Aurora, Colorado, who's transforming education for minority, immigrant, and refugee students by inviting their families into the classroom and ensuring they can help drive the policy decisions that impact their kids. 2019 was filled with stories like these. Stories that I hope give you as much optimism for the future as they give me. Here's to a happy and hopeful new year.
I was really excited about being part of the Obama Foundation Leaders Convening because I wanted to meet people who are doing amazing things around the world. The connections here will be phenomenal.
The Asia Pacific region is actually very special. Even though we're very different in language and culture, we're all kind of interconnected. There's quite a lot of hope just within this room, and we want to be able to translate all this energy into real action.
Sometimes it turns out the people who can teach you something are the ones you don't expect. My daughters teach me things, but you have to be open to that. It requires a certain amount of confidence. If you're confident enough in who you are, then you should be able to humble yourself and be open to other people's power and wisdom and experience. That's how you will grow and learn.
Seeing the other 199 leaders that are here and hearing their stories and knowing the work that they've been doing, it's all incredible. And it's like, wow, like I'm a part of this network. I get to be connected from them. I get to learn from them. And I get to pull strength from them. That's a powerful thing to have. And it's necessary, you know?
We need women and diverse minds and people who think differently and have different religious beliefs, because truth and the right answer comes from diversity of experiences. You're needed at those tables, so you can't sit there wondering whether you belong, because you'll waste your time in those seats and you'll hold your voice back and you won't be able to make change because you're waiting for somebody to tell you that you belong. I'm telling you, you belong.
When Michelle Obama said that you deserve this to us, like into our eyes, and I really teared up because insecurity in our lives, but someone like Michelle Obama to tell us into our eyes and tell us that we deserve this and we can do this, that really inspired me.
You should just rejoice in this opportunity to change the world. It's a great privilege to be alive and have the possibility of helping somebody or making things a little bit better. I have so much confidence that if you just stay with it, you will have made things better. So I'll see you out there, everybody. Love you. Thank you.
In societies and countries where women are educated, everyone benefits. It's an undisputed proof that in developed countries where half of the population is getting an education and able to contribute, whether it be by bringing in an income or doing a better job of educating the children they're bringing in, that enhances the power, the strength of everyone. But it's tradition, it is culture, it is, lack of education. People know what they know. And so now we've got to start educating everyone on these facts so that we all improve. So the work that I do, is really in recognition of the truth that is the communities that I come from, that we all come from. It's no different whether it's the south side of Chicago or a small village in Cambodia. We're not different, We're all humans with the same feelings and hopes and dreams and desires. And I hold that with me, that knowledge, and that fuels my advocacy. We are a team. You all are the soldiers on the ground who get the work done and feed back information on what's needed and how do we do it better. This work is isolating, and it's hard, and it's lonely because you're breaking barriers. So our view is that you all shouldn't feel like you're doing this work alone, even though you're in other parts of the world. We don't do this work because we're going to get the reward at the end. We do it because it's the right thing to do, day in and day out. If we quit today, it never gets done. I am so proud of the courage and the leadership that has taken each of you to be here. You're not alone in this, and we don't get this done without you. So thank you. Thank you for that. Be proud of what you're doing. Yeah, be excited and feel joy in it.
We want to inspire and empower people to change the world.
The 2019 class of Obama Foundation Fellows
is here.
From thousands of applications from over 160 countries.
In over 780 U.S. cities. 20 must have been chosen to take the next step.
And our commitment to change the world.
Obama Foundation Fellows are civic innovators.
We're working alongside our communities
to solve the most important problems our world is facing today.
And we're doing it in creative and meaningful ways.
Some of us are focusing on improving education.
We want to ensure that every single youth have access to education, and we want to eradicate illiteracy in young people across the world.
We work alongside universities to ensure students who are first in their families to go to college come out with a strong first job.
Some of us are working on community development.
We're developing methods to address the housing issues many of our indigenous communities are facing.
Our organization gives people skills and opportunities to thrive in today's Appalachia.
Others of us are helping protect our environment.
We are working along the coast of the countries to promote healthy ecosystems of the marine life.
Our organization engages young adults in service around conservation and sustainability. And we're all engaging our communities to create strong and sustainable solutions. We're at a tipping point with our work, and the Obama Foundation Fellowship will help advance us and our causes to the next level.
We'll be learning from training and mentorship programs.
Connecting with networks and resources,
and learning from each other, all to make the most of this 2-year program.
I am most excited to connect with the other fellows and also become a part of a community that's changing the world.
I'm looking forward to learning ways that we can scale our work.
Learn from people's lived experiences and hone my own craft and figuring out how I can build a much better organization than I've created so far.
Our intention here is to identify folks who are right on the verge of really breaking out and doing big things and taking them under our wing and working with them so that they can be even more successful than they already are.
So what's our work?
I'm an Obama Fellow.
I'm an Obama Fellow. I'm an Obama Fellow.
And I'm here to change the world.
My name is Uchenna Onwamebubu. I live in Onitsha, Anambra State, Nigeria.
My name is Andrew Iksan Gasnola, and I live in Cape Town, South Africa.
My name is Joa Kondoe, and I'm from Malawi.
My name is Jeremy Lisuba from Congo Brazzaville.
My name is Edith Amin. I'm from Malawi.
My name is Innocent Magambi. I'm from Burundi.
My name is Yaron Fai, and I am from the Gambia and Tanzania.
My name is Mustafa Amin, and I am from Egypt.
My name is Gamari Mboya from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania.
My name is Wilson Prayachivanga, originally from Zimbabwe.
Through the Obama Foundation Leaders Program, I learned how crucial collaboration is.
I've learned to be self-confident, believe in myself, to do the things that I think are supposed to be done.
Gained a lot of determination to continue fighting against injustice.
I have been able to understand how to network with other organizations.
The program has expanded my network and unveiled insights for growth.
We learned about the importance of storytelling and having a
presence on social media.
I've managed to establish connections that have led to us receiving funding for the projects that we are doing.
I truly believe that this experience has helped me become a better communicator.
I learned that leadership is as much about one's own qualities as it is about those that one can inspire in others.
It is a life-changing experience.
All of us as Africans, we can make Africa a better place for everyone.
Rarely will you have the opportunity to meet with so many forward-looking individuals, true friends and allies doing incredible work on our continent.
I am an Obama leader.
I am an Obama leader.
I am the Obama leader.
I am an 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 Obama leader.
My message to young people who want to have an impact on the world is to be creative. There is so incredibly much you can do, and to not underestimate yourself.
Greta, how are you?
Oh, I'm good.
It is very good to see you again.
Very good to see you.
Thank you so much for stopping by to say hello.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, you're changing the world, so we're very excited to have you. How have you found so far the Friday strikes? How'd they go in New York and how'd they go in Washington?
Very well.
Yeah.
Everyone is so nice, and all of these young people seem so eager, very enthusiastic, which is a very good thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, no one is too small to have an impact and change the world, so just do everything you can and be creative.
You and me were a team, huh?
Yes, we...
Do you know about fist bumping? Do you believe in fist bumping?
Yes.
You can do the boom.